What is up, everyone? Today here I have my boy Chris. Chris is one of my clients who I'll let him explain a little more, but runs a really cool business where he helps people transition or break into tech sales. And so, Chris, I'll kind of leave it to you, man. Give the people an intro. Who are you? What do you do with your business?
Absolutely. So I'm Chris Duvall. I'm the co-founder of Tech Sales Mentors. I come from a sales background. My dad was in sales, a salesman. My grandpa was a salesman, and my wife was in sales, and my father-in-law was in sales. So entire sales family. And then in my career, I've spent a lot of time in the tech sales industry, working for Dell Technologies, working in cybersecurity for Jump Cloud, and then most recently as an enterprise account executive with HubSpot. And then after that, I obviously transitioned into becoming a co-founder of a company where we help people get hired at the top 1% of tech sales companies in BDR, SDR roles. So do you want me to continue from there? Is that a
Yeah,
good
that's
place?
good. That's good. So it sounds you had a really successful sales career, like corporate sales career, enterprise, and you
Hmm.
transitioned from that into now helping people do the same, right? So
Hmm.
the sales
Yep.
different, going from B2B, selling to CMOs and CFOs to now like
Hmm.
consumers, like regular people. What were your
Yeah.
challenges with that transition?
Yeah. So it's a completely different animal selling B2B than it is selling B2C. And we had a lot of like not only we weren't just starting from fresh, we were starting with a lot of bad habits from the B2B environment where sometimes the sales processes are really long. They're often really driven on features and things like that. And so we were coming into these calls and we were spilling our spaghetti
Mhm.
and feature pitching instead of doing the opposite, which is what we needed to be doing. So our close rate, our offer to close, and our call to close rate was around 20% before we started working with Nick. We realized we needed to change that if we wanted to scale our business.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Closing 2 out of 10 people would be tough to scale, right? And that's interesting. So what do you feel like was the biggest like I guess difference with that, right? Like with the people that you're talking to and how the process goes of this is an enterprise $200,000 sale versus this is like a five, 6,000, $10,000 sale.
Yeah, the sales get harder the lower you go down the totem pole in some ways. And so every word matters when you're doing like a 5K or a 10K sale. And you have to be a lot more focused on the personality, the person, their idiosyncrasies, their mental models, things like that when you're
Mhm.
selling business to consumer. A lot of times when you're at an enterprise level, you may be doing a 1 year, a 2 year, a 4 year rip and replace and you're focused on like building joint evaluation plans and getting stakeholder buy-in, and that's much more feature oriented and knowing how to wrangle like data architects and solution engineers and all these things, being
Mhm.
an in-between man to all these different parties. But when you're doing B2C in a sale, it's much more about mental mindsets, mental models, and talking people through how to stop them from sabotaging themselves as they have for a lot of their lives.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot more emotional, less transactional and logistical, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so it sounds like with your B2B background, you kind of brought some of that in, right? The sales processes, you're used to a long sales process, so you kind of assume that with this too. With that, what was it that made you choose me to coach you guys?
Yeah, we chose you because we talked to our network. Among the people that we know that are entrepreneurs or business owners, you were really highly recommended as somebody that's both ethical and that gets incredible results from your clients for your customers.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And we've been working together, I think 2 months, 3 months now. Like how's it been? What's the coaching process been like? How are things going so far, in your opinion?
Yeah, things are going great. We meet twice a week, and in those, we often review like metrics and a call recording of like the most challenging call. In that time, you understood our business. You worked to understand our actual business, so you could personalize your solution to us. Then you built the scripting and frameworks that we use
Mhm.
to quantitatively understand our customers, and then with those call reviews, things like that, we've moved through that scripting to just from crawling to to toddling to walking with success, and our close rate has skyrocketed throughout that process. And now we continue to work on like more and more nuanced aspects of sales calls to continue getting those incremental improvements, even though
Yeah.
we've got huge improvements out of the way.
100%. And so like you said, like we go through a lot on these calls of like just a lot of different strategy, a lot of different principles. What do you think is the main strategy or principle that's like really been able to turn things around for you?
Yeah, the main strategy or principle is just like you said, it's like emotional, understand it, being consultative. And we spend the vast majority of our calls now on understanding the pain points of the person, the challenges or the change that the person that we're talking to needs to go through in order to make this transition successfully in their own lives. And and then at the end we show them our solution quickly, but really it's about that challenge or change that they need to go through. We help them achieve that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, I mean you touched on it earlier, right? It's like before it was very like we get into the call, ask maybe a question or two, and then dive into the presentation from your B2B experience. But now you're asking more emotional questions, you're understanding them more. You're shifting how they view things, which is like really what
Hmm.
sales is, right?
Right.
And let's talk numbers, right? Like what you said you were at 20% before, right? Where are you at right now, and what's been the difference in revenue too?
Yeah, so when we track now our call to close and our close rate, it's they're both between like 50 and 60% since we started with Nick. So that's a huge improvement. And then last week we actually had a call to close of 71% and a offer to close of 83%. And so what that translates into, if we're doing like 5,500 in revenue per customer, that is the equivalent of about $44,000 increase in gross revenue per week for our business. And obviously, like as your business scales,
You said
that
how
will
much
scale
percent?
with it. About $44,000 increase in gross revenue per week since we started working with Nick.
44 grand in
Hmm.
7 weeks. This is our seventh week or our sixth week together.
Yeah. Yeah.
44 grand. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
You went from 20% like
Hmm.
monthly to
So,
50 to 60. And last week you did 70%.
yeah, we did 70% call to close and 80% offer to close.
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally
no
insane.
difference in it's you know, the lead quality is the same because you didn't change your marketing. So you're talking to the same kinds of people you
Yes.
were talking before.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's the same. The
Yep.
volume is the same, right? It's just now more people are buying.
Yep, that's true. And in fact, we may have like incrementally in small ways like decreased the quality of the people that we're having calls with to increase the number of calls. And so even in that environment, we saw this huge increase.
Wow, you so worse leads. I'm not a marketing guy, but worse leads,
Yeah,
more money. That's crazy.
incrementally worse lead, but much higher close rate, which generates directly to a lot more revenue. Yeah, a lot more
That's
money.
exciting to hear. And so I know you talked about like the experience earlier of we get on these calls, we meet, we do call reviews, etc. What's been
Mhm.
your like the your most enjoyable, your favorite thing about how we work together or how I give you feedback? What would you say?
Yeah, I think you, Nick, are a very authentic and personable person, and you're very supportive and positive, even as you work through like feedback. And a lot of that is just very authentic. I personally appreciate that you are, which I don't think you've ever proactively told me, but I saw it in your materials that you're a Christian, and a lot of those values obviously come through into both our calls, how you deal with us as customers, but also into like how you think about these prospects, which is clearly that you're driven to make positive impacts in these people's lives and help them realize the persistent problems in their own mental models that's causing them to be stuck in a rut, spinning their wheels in their lives, and you help them overcome that. And so it's like what therapy should truly be,
Hmm.
um, but it actually delivers the result instead of just keeping people stuck in their pain.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. That's an interesting point, right? It's a lot of times we see sales as something we do to people, right? That as opposed to something we do for them. Um,
Hmm.
which makes a lot of it a lot less effective if you think you're just like beating someone down, right?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate this, man. Any final words if someone's watching this, they're on the fence about possibly working with me, about possibly getting the course, like what would you say?
Yeah, I would tell them like stop talking yourself out of your own success. And people use all these different excuses like that something's too expensive or that they're just gonna wait to think about it or that they need to like appeal to authority. They need to go talk to somebody else or get more opinions. And I would just say like stop it. Those are lies. and you are procrastinating your way out of the successful change that you need to make in your life to move to the next level. Stop being stuck. You're not waiting for Godot. You need to make the change in your life. So do it today. Do it now.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Chris. Keep crushing it with
Yeah.
your business. We're gonna keep growing. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you doing this, man.